Hey folks, welcome back. It is quite cool out. So, this is part 4 of How Prepared Are You? If you are in the prepared mindset and you could see hard times coming a few years in advance, if you could see everything building up and so much is uncertain and you are preparing for hard times, whether you are preparing for loss of a job, getting sick, getting hurt, you already know the standby rule that you don't tell or show all that you have, right? Let's just say there's been a total collapse. I've heard reference to Mad Max. I have no idea what that is, folks. No idea. I don't know if it's a scenario. I don't know if it's a book. I don't know if it's a movie. I have no idea. I haven't researched it. Because when people say Mad Max, from what I gather, people just turn into horrible, horrible human beings. Which may be the case if there's a total societal collapse, right? But if that is the case, times got really hard and you have been preparing. First of all, you do not tell or show what you have. Now, I liken it to a wild critter. A fox always knows where it has a tendency to get his meal, whether it's a flock, chickens, ducks, geese. If they know where there's a likelihood of them to get a meal, they're going to remember where they got that meal. They're going to remember the brush pile where there was a family of mice living. And they're going to keep revisiting that for potential food, right? A wild animal never forgets where his food source is. Same with bear, anything. Well, if it come down to a total collapse, people will remember. They'll start remembering all the conversations they've had on if you had a garden, if you hunted, if you had a bang bang collection, if you were complaining about the price of ammunition, if you talked about how big your garden is or gardens are, if you've had fruit trees, if you've had berry patches, right? People are going to remember that. It's going to re-jog. The hungrier they get, the more they're going to remember the past conversations they've had. So, with that said, it's just not wise you can talk about it. If those people don't know where you live, they have no idea where you live. That's one thing. But if you're having a conversation down to the general store and people know that you live locally or they know exactly where you live, then if times got hard and they started getting hungry, right, they're going to come knocking. Maybe they won't even knock. If times got really hard, and if you're all set up, you've got your cattle, your sheep, your ducks, geese, chickens. If you've got a nice garden that's been established, if you've got a nice woodshed full of firewood, if you've got your chainsaws, if you've got all the tools that you need, you've got gas storage, you've got a generator, you're all set up. Someone that's very desperate will remember those conversations they've had. If they are ill-intended and desperate, they could come in and take right over your home, and you're the one that's out. You're the one that's without food. You're the one that's without heat. You're the one that's without a place to be in. Please remember, local conversations. Now, a lot of people ask where I live. They ask if I can show them my pantry, the layout of my house, take a walk around my property, show my gardens, show everything that I have. And again, I am not going to do that because it's not wise, especially where I live alone, right? It's not wise. It's really not wise. So I don't do that. And if they know where I live, they can come, move me out of my place, and they're going to move in to a place that's all set up, it's all established, everything is in good working order, everything is there for them just to pick up where I stopped, right? You got to remember that. A wild animal always remembers where it gets its food. So won't people when they get desperate. They will remember those conversations. They will remember when they came to your house and saw your layout. They will remember that. It will come to them. I guarantee it will come to them. So it's not wise. Now, if you live alone and you're back in the back 40, let's just say, and there's no backup, if things got really bad, lookouts, security, whatever you want to call that, is going to be a 24/7 job. You cannot stay awake you can't stay awake 24 hours a day, day after day. You just can't do that. You need to sleep. You need to get things done. So I'm sure there's a lot of ways to do that, but motion sensor alarms, you could place one. They go like 400 to 600 to 1,000 feet from where you put that sensor to where the alarm rings in your house. They got them probably that will stretch even further distance than that. But you can put one the furthest out, and then maybe 100 or 200 yards or whatever closer to your house, you can have another one that will let you know if you are sleeping, or if you're up in the garden, or if you're in the bathroom, or taking a shower, whatever. That alarm is going to go off, letting you know that something is moving about. If that outer one is tripped, and then the next one is tripped, that's closer to your house, and maybe you can have them every 100 yards, 150 yards, or whatever, that'll let you know that something is coming closer to where you are. Now, if you're up in your garden, they have them so you can bring that with you. So if you're weeding or if you're harvesting or whatever, then that's still going to signal you that something is moving about. There's probably a lot of ways to do that. The best way to do that is probably have someone with you so you can kind of take turns. One is doing something and the other one is looking out. I don't know, folks. I haven't really thought that far ahead. Only because if times ever got that hard, where I am, there'll more than likely be somebody down here with me so I can sleep and they can be a lookout, right? So I just hope it never gets to that. I just hope it doesn't. Now, anything can happen as far as anything can happen, folks. Now, this isn't a game. Some people think, oh, that's fantasy. That's just a game. Well, it probably sounds like it to a lot of people, but I bet people that have gone through the scenarios that we're talking about never thought they even had to think about that. They just prepared for whether they themselves got hurt, got sick, out of a job, and they just have backups for that, so they will be all right until they can get back on their feet again, or get another job or whatever, right? The thing is, no one ever knows what is going to happen, and everything is so uncertain. Everything is so uncertain right now that you should at least be thinking. Now, I'm not talking about obsessing. I'm not talking about going into a frantic fit. I'm just saying it's not going to hurt you any whatsoever to at least think through these scenarios. And if you want to act on them, that's great. If you don't want to act on them and say, yeah, well, I'll figure that out if the times get that bad. Well, that's all right too. That's your choice. But if you're choosing to laugh at these videos and think we're all conspiracy theorists and think we're all playing this fantasy game, that's good. Just don't come to us if it actually happens.